The rain hit the alley like needles, bouncing off the metal shutters of abandoned shops. Tiny paws splashed in the puddles as a small figure hunched over a tattered blanket. The figure was no bigger than a child, but scales shimmered across its body, iridescent even in the dim neon light. A dragon baby. Its eyes, wide and anxious, scanned the shadows as it set out a few strange, glowing toys, hoping someone, anyone, would stop and trade for them. A distant siren wailed and the dragon flinched. It hissed softly, curling its tail around itself like armor. Every sale counted. Every coin could mean a meal, or warmth, or survival. He picked up a shimmering toy, a tiny mechanical bird that flapped when pressed, and set it carefully on the puddle-streaked blanket. The bird glowed faintly, casting a soft golden light in the alley. Footsteps echoed closer. Heavy, human-sized. The dragon froze. Its tiny chest heaved. Whoever was coming would see him, and the last thing he needed was trouble. But it wasn't trouble that emerged. A man stepped into the puddles, shaking rain from his coat, eyes scanning the alley until they landed on the little dragon. "Hey there," the man said, his voice calm but firm. "You all right, little guy?" The dragon hissed, backing away. Its wings fluttered, revealing frayed edges and bruised spots. Something in the man's eyes didn't make it panic, though. Instead, curiosity. He crouched, careful not to move too fast. "I'm Corin," he said. "I can help." The dragon's gaze flicked to the neon glow of its toys, then back to Corin. Hesitation. Fear. Hunger. A tiny whimper escaped its throat. It had been alone for too long. People didn't like dragons. Orphans like him were treated worse. Survival meant hiding. Survival meant selling whatever could catch attention. Even toys. A sudden shadow fell across the alley. A patrol drone buzzing low, red lights scanning. The dragon froze. Its tiny claws scrabbled against the wet ground. The toys, placed haphazardly, began to glow brighter, reacting to the creature's panic. The drone's sensors flickered. Its lights intensified, scanning for anything unusual. Corin didn't hesitate. He lunged forward, slamming the small EMP device he carried against the alley wall. A pulse shot outward. The drone jerked and sparked, spinning out of control, then crashed into a pile of discarded crates. The dragon's eyes widened, a mix of fear and awe. "You're safe, for now," Corin said, his chest heaving. He turned to the dragon, kneeling low, holding out his hand. "I'm not going to hurt you." The dragon's tail flicked nervously. It hissed, low and cautious, but didn't run. Hunger gnawed at its stomach. Its body trembled from cold and rain. Slowly, with tiny hesitant steps, it inched toward him, eyeing the warm human hand like it might be a trap, but one it needed to trust. Corin pulled a few credits from his coat pocket, tossing them onto the blanket. "Here, keep the toys. I'll buy them all." The dragon froze. Coins glimmered in the puddles. Something like understanding, or relief, passed across its face. Tiny claws scrabbled at the blanket, gathering a few toys closer, as if to claim them as its own. The mechanical bird flapped again, startling it slightly, but then it cocked its head curiously. The first smile it had shown in weeks flickered across its snout. But safety was short-lived. Another pair of heavy footsteps echoed at the alley entrance, closer, faster. The dragon whipped its head toward the sound, scales bristling. Its little wings twitched. Corin's hand shot forward, gripping the dragon's shoulder gently. "Don't move," he whispered, tension slicing through his calm. A shadow fell across them. A gang of scavengers, rain dripping off their coats, eyes glinting with greed, had noticed the glowing toys. They saw the dragon as a prize. A quick snatch, a coin to sell it for a fortune. The alley suddenly felt smaller, suffocating. The dragon hissed again, louder this time, a warning. But it was tiny. Against humans like these, its voice meant nothing. Corin's mind raced. He couldn't fight all of them. Not easily. Not without risk. But he could buy a few precious seconds. He grabbed another glowing toy, pressed a button. The bird flapped violently, sparks shooting toward the puddles, and the gang yelped, startled. Corin seized the moment, pulling the dragon close, stepping back toward a side corridor barely wide enough for the two to pass. The dragon squirmed at first, unsure, but then settled, trusting the human that had saved it minutes ago. Its eyes scanned the alley, glowing toys scattered like tiny stars at their feet. Corin whispered, "We're getting out of here. Just a little further and we'll be safe." But as they turned the corner, the sound of the gang's heavy boots echoed louder, closer, and a shadow moved faster than Corin expected. Something glinting in the dark, metallic, fast. The dragon flinched. Corin stiffened. And then from the darkness, a second drone hovered silently, its red eye locking onto them, scanning, calculating. The alley was no longer just wet and dark. It was a trap. The dragon whimpered. Corrin tightened his grip. Stay close. We'll find a way. But neither of them noticed the small, glowing pulse beginning to flicker from one of the toys, an odd pattern, almost like a warning. Something was coming, something bigger than the gangs, bigger than the colony. Something that might change everything. The dragon's eyes widened. Corrin's jaw tightened. And from the shadows, the unknown moved closer, fast, silent, and unavoidable. The alley was quiet now, but the quiet felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. Rain dripped from the rooftops, pooling into dark puddles along the cracked pavement. Corrin's coat was soaked through, but he didn't notice. His eyes stayed on the small dragon in his arms. The creature's body shivered, not from the cold alone but from fear. Its tiny claws dug lightly into Corrin's sleeve, seeking warmth, seeking safety. Hey, it's okay, Corrin murmured, pulling the dragon closer. He scanned the alley mouth. No gang in sight, no drones hovering nearby, but that didn't mean they were safe. He had seen how quickly the scavengers could regroup, and the colony authorities would not ignore an unusual creature like this for long. Every second mattered. The dragon whimpered softly. Its glowing eyes blinked nervously at the scattered toys, some still sparking faintly from the previous encounter. Corrin's mind raced. He needed a plan. Shelter. Food. Warmth. And most importantly, a place where the dragon could feel safe for even a few hours. Come on, he whispered, taking a careful step forward. He led the way through a narrow side corridor that twisted behind old shops. The dragon followed cautiously, its tail curling around his arm, wings tucked tight. It glanced nervously at every shadow, at every sound. Even the patter of rain on metal made it flinch. Corrin reached the end of the corridor. A small hidden entrance led to his ship, tucked between two abandoned warehouses. The door hissed as it opened and warm light spilled into the alley. The dragon froze for a moment, tilting its head at the brightness. The smell of machinery and recycled air filled its nostrils. It had never smelled anything like it before, and for a moment, the fear melted into curiosity. Inside, Corrin quickly secured the door. He examined the dragon, noticing the faint scratches along its wings, the bruises hidden under its scales. You've been through a lot, he said softly. But you're safe now. At least for a little while. The dragon crouched low, eyes still wary, but it didn't run. Corrin smiled faintly. That was progress. Trust like this didn't come quickly for a creature that had survived alone for who knew how long. He set the dragon on a soft mat in the corner and began unpacking supplies from the ship's small storage compartment. Warm blankets, some rations he had kept for emergencies, and a bottle of water. The dragon watched each movement carefully, its tail flicking nervously but not leaving his side. Corrin handed it a small piece of dried meat. The dragon sniffed it, then hesitated, but hunger won over caution. It nibbled quickly, eyes darting toward the door as if expecting danger at any second. Corrin knelt beside it, his hand resting gently on its back. I won't let anyone hurt you. Not tonight. A faint hum interrupted the moment. Corrin froze, listening. The sound came from one of the toys, the mechanical bird that had sparked the drone's attention earlier. Its wings twitched and a low, rhythmic pulse of light flickered from its body. The dragon tilted its head toward it, almost instinctively. Corrin frowned. He had never seen it do this before. What are you trying to show me? He murmured. The bird's wings flapped again, and a pattern of glowing dots formed on its surface, like a map or a warning. The dragon's eyes followed the lights, then darted nervously toward the vent near the ship's floor. Corrin's heart quickened. The creature was reacting to something he couldn't see. Suddenly the ship shuddered. Not violently, but enough to knock a small crate off the shelf. Corrin's eyes widened. He ran to the console. The security feed flickered, showing the faint shadow of someone, or something, moving outside in the rain. Not a drone, not a scavenger, but something different. Faster, smarter, calculating. The dragon hissed low, arching its back, wings flaring slightly. It wasn't a threat, not yet, but the warning in its posture was clear. Corrin's fingers flew over the controls, activating the ship's external sensors. Nothing visible. No thermal signature. But the subtle vibrations beneath the floor told him someone, or something, was close. Corrin glanced at the dragon. Stay calm. You trust me, right? We can do this together. The dragon blinked slowly, almost as if understanding, and curled closer to him. Corrin felt a surge of determination. He had faced dangerous situations before, but never with a creature like this depending on him. Failure wasn't an option. Minutes passed. Each second stretched, heavy with tension. Then, without warning, a small figure darted across the alley, illuminated briefly by the ship's light. Corrin recognized it immediately, a scavenger, bold, desperate, and armed. The glint of a blade reflected the faint glow of the dragon's toys. Corrin's mind raced. He had no time to think through options, only actions. He grabbed a handful of the glowing toys, tossing them toward the corridor entrance. Sparks flew, light bouncing off wet walls, creating confusion. The scavengers stumbled, shielding their eyes. The dragon hissed, darting forward instinctively, knocking over a crate that blocked the scavenger's path. The human and dragon moved as one, the small creature's reflexes and Corrin's strategy combining perfectly. Together they reached the hidden door, slamming it shut behind them. Corrin leaned against the wall, breathing hard. The dragon pressed close, wings slightly wrapped around his arm. For a moment, safety returned. But the pulse from the mechanical bird continued to flicker, urgent, unrelenting. Corrin's stomach tightened. Something beyond the gangs, beyond the patrols, was waiting, something far bigger, far smarter. The dragon's eyes reflected the flickering light, wide and anxious. Corrin whispered, "I don't know what it is, but we're going to find out." A sudden sharp knock shook the ship's hull, metallic and deliberate, sending both human and dragon flinching. The sound came from outside the reinforced door. Whoever, or whatever, was out there wasn't going away. Corrin gritted his teeth. He had kept the dragon alive through the alley, through scavengers and rain. But the real test was only beginning. And then, from the darkness beyond the door, a strange, low hum joined the knocking, a sound that didn't belong to any human, any drone, or any scavenger. The dragon stiffened, scales bristling. Corrin felt a chill run down his spine. Something had found them. Something that knew exactly where they were. Corrin's fingers trembled slightly as he leaned over the small glowing toy. The mechanical bird's wings flapped in a strange rhythm now, faster than before, each pulse of light forming a pattern he couldn't understand. The dragon crouched low beside him, tail flicking nervously, eyes wide and unblinking. It hissed softly, a sound that seemed almost like a warning. "What are you trying to tell me?" Corrin muttered, tapping the toy. Nothing happened at first, then a sudden holographic image erupted from the bird. A map. Lines of light traced across the display, forming a pattern that made Corrin's jaw tighten. He recognized the symbols, alien glyphs, old ones once thought to be extinct. The dragon's eyes darted between the hologram and Corrin. Its body trembled. It wanted to flee, but curiosity, and perhaps something deeper, kept it rooted. The map displayed a route through the city, through tunnels and hidden passages Corrin had never seen. At the end of the path was a symbol, glowing brighter than the rest, pulsing in sync with the bird's wings. This is your home," Corrin whispered, realization dawning. The dragon flinched at the word, ears flattening, wings twitching. It was true, he realized. The small creature had been orphaned not by chance but by force. Something had taken it from its family, or worse. A low rumble vibrated through the ship, making both of them jump. The hidden vent shuddered. The dragon hissed sharply, its body stiffening, claws digging into Corrin's coat. He looked up at the ceiling, then to the control panel. Sensors showed faint thermal signatures converging on the ship. They weren't scouts, not exactly. Too precise, too coordinated. Corrin's mind raced. Protecting the dragon meant more than keeping it warm or fed. It meant defying the colony authorities, the gangs, and now, something else, something smarter. He had to act fast. He grabbed another toy from the blanket, pressing its hidden button. Sparks shot across the room, lighting the walls with short bursts of bright color. The dragon blinked, startled, then leaned closer to him. Corrin could feel the creature's heartbeat racing, small but strong against his side. Together they were alive, together, but every second made survival harder. Corrin tapped the holographic map again, memorizing the route. "If we can make it through these tunnels, maybe we can reach somewhere safe, or at least hidden long enough to figure out what's going on." He glanced at the dragon. "You can help. You know the streets better than anyone." The dragon tilted its head, nostrils flaring. It moved toward the console, claws barely touching the glowing surface. Tiny sparks danced as it brushed against the holographic display. Then, as if understanding, it pawed at a specific point along the map. Corrin's eyes widened. The dragon wasn't just a helpless creature. It was showing him a safe path, a secret route only it could know. The sound of movement outside the ship intensified. Heavy boots and scraping metal echoed down the alley. Corin realized the scavengers had called reinforcements, or perhaps the colony authorities had been alerted. Either way, they were surrounded. He picked up the dragon, holding it close. We move fast. No mistakes. The creature nuzzled his chest as if understanding and let out a soft, low hum, almost like a promise. Corin opened the hatch, peeking out. Rain-slicked walls reflected the neon light of the city, and down the alley, shadows moved faster than humanly possible. A pair of patrol drones hovered above, scanning, while a gang of scavengers crept along the edges, weapons drawn. He ducked back inside. We can't go out the front. Too many eyes. The map, the tunnels. We have to trust it. He set the dragon down. The creature hesitated, then pressed its small snout to the glowing map, guiding Corin to a hidden panel in the ship's floor. With a low hiss and a flick of its tail, the panel opened, revealing a narrow, dark passage leading beneath the streets. Corin swallowed hard. All right, let's go. He lifted the dragon gently, stepping onto the metal ladder leading down into the shadows. Cold water dripped from above, but the enclosed tunnel offered a small sense of protection. Each step echoed, each sound magnified. He could feel danger pressing from above, but he also felt hope. The tunnel curved, dark and winding, the walls slick with rainwater seepage. Corin's heart pounded. Every sound from above, the distant hum of drones, the scraping of boots, reminded him that the streets were no longer theirs. Yet below, the dragon moved confidently in his arms, tail curling protectively around him, as if sensing the path ahead. Halfway through the passage, a sudden noise echoed behind them, a sharp metallic clang followed by a high-pitched whir. Corin froze, holding the dragon tight. Something had followed them into the tunnel. It moved faster than the eye could track, its shape blurred in the darkness. The dragon hissed, wings twitching. Its eyes glowed faintly, reflecting the soft light from the mechanical toys. Then, without warning, it leapt from Corin's arms, landing ahead, claws scraping against the metal floor. It pawed at something, pressing it down into a small groove in the wall. A panel slid open, revealing a hidden alcove. Corin blinked. You knew this was here? The dragon gave a small, almost proud chirp and nudged him forward. He followed, stepping into the alcove, and the hidden door slid shut behind them. For a moment, silence returned, thick and heavy. Corin knelt beside the dragon, letting out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. The little creature pressed against him, scales warm against his wet coat. He looked down at the holographic map still glowing in the alcove. At the end of this hidden path was a symbol pulsing faster than ever. Something waited for them, something ancient and important. Whatever it is, we'll face it, Corin whispered. The dragon's small glowing eyes met his, full of trust, fear and something more, hope. But the quiet didn't last long. A faint vibration ran through the walls, growing steadily like a heartbeat, but not theirs. Something massive moved above them, searching, calculating, coming closer. Corin's jaw tightened. He had survived gangs, drones and rain. But now, he realized the real challenge was only beginning. And as the dragon pressed against his chest, he felt it, the soft, rhythmic pulse of the toys syncing with the vibrations in the walls. They weren't alone. Something in the tunnel was alive. Something that knew they were here. Something waiting for them to make the first move. Corin tightened his grip on the dragon, feeling its tiny body tense against him. The vibrations in the walls grew stronger, like the rumble of a living engine, echoing through the hidden alcove. He pressed his forehead against the dragon's scales, whispering, "Stay calm. Whatever it is, we face it together." The dragon hissed softly but didn't struggle, its trust in him clear. They moved forward, following the tunnel's winding path. Corin's eyes flicked to the faint light from the dragon's toys, casting pale gold glows along the slick walls. Each step echoed, magnifying the tension. The closer they got to the pulsing symbol on the holographic map, the stronger the vibrations became. Corin realized that whatever awaited them ahead wasn't just dangerous, it was intelligent. Calculating. A sudden metallic screech reverberated through the tunnel. Corin froze, heart hammering. The sound wasn't mechanical, it had a rhythm, a tone almost like a warning growl. The dragon stiffened, ears flat, wings twitching. He glanced down. Its glowing eyes were locked on a shadow moving against the walls. Too fast, too fluid for a human. "Get ready," Corin whispered. His fingers hovered over the ship's compact pulse blaster, a weapon small enough to carry yet powerful in a confined space. But he knew brute force alone wouldn't save them. They had to be smart. Faster than their enemy. The shadow surged forward. Corin ducked instinctively, the dragon curling against him. Sparks flew as the pulse blaster fired, ricocheting off the tunnel walls. The creature above them didn't falter. Its movement was precise, deliberate, like it knew exactly where Corrin and the dragon were. The dragon hissed again, and this time Corrin noticed a faint glow along its scales, reacting to the vibrations in the walls. He realized something astonishing. The dragon could sense the approaching danger, predict its movement. His mind raced. They weren't just running blindly, they could use the dragon's instincts to their advantage. He set the dragon down carefully. Go ahead. Lead the way. The creature's wings twitched, tail flicking with urgency. It darted down a narrower passage, pressing against the walls with its claws, tracing a path invisible to Corrin's eyes. He followed closely, leaping over debris and puddles, the blaster ready in his hands. Above, the sounds intensified. Metal scraped against stone, heavy claws striking the tunnel walls. Corrin's pulse raced. Each turn brought them closer to the pulsing symbol from the map, the one that promised either safety or revelation. The dragon paused briefly, pawing at a ridge in the tunnel floor. Corrin bent down, noticing a small panel. With a sharp push from the dragon's claws, it slid open, revealing a drop hatch into a lower chamber. Corrin's stomach tightened. It was risky. Too risky. But the path was clear and the pursuing force was gaining. He scooped the dragon into his arms and leapt through the hatch. They landed in darkness, the chamber wide and damp, walls etched with strange alien glyphs that glowed faintly in the dragon's reflection. The dragon hissed, wings bristling, but remained still against Corrin's chest. He scanned the room, trying to make sense of the symbols. Then he saw it, a faint light on the far wall, a small console emitting the same pulse pattern as the mechanical toys. Corrin's mind clicked. The toys weren't just toys, they were keys. Guides. Warnings. Suddenly, a shadow moved across the far wall. Corrin froze, heart pounding. Not a drone, not a scavenger, something organic, massive, and impossibly fast. Its eyes glinted faintly, reflecting the golden glow of the toys. The dragon twitched, reacting instinctively. It hissed, not in fear but in recognition. Corrin whispered, "Use it, help me." He placed the dragon on the floor. It moved forward, its body low, glowing patterns flaring along its scales. Sparks from the toys lit up the chamber as the dragon pawed at the console. Lights flickered, pulsing in a sequence that made Corrin's stomach twist. The creature above lunged, massive claws scraping the stone. Corrin leapt, firing the blaster in a wide arc. Sparks flew, illuminating the shadow just long enough for him to see its face. Elongated, alien, with intelligence burning in its eyes. But the dragon reacted faster. It darted, knocking a small panel down, and a sudden energy field surged across the chamber. The alien screeched, striking the field and recoiling. Corrin seized the moment. "Now," he yelled. He lunged for the console, pressing a sequence of buttons guided by the glowing patterns from the toys and the dragon's instinct. The chamber trembled. A hidden door slid open at the far end, revealing a passage descending even deeper into the underground network. The alien hesitated, caught between the glowing energy field and the opening. Corrin scooped the dragon into his arms again. "Move." They sprinted toward the passage, slipping through the opening just as the alien recovered. Its roar echoed behind them, a warning that this wasn't over. Breathing heavily, Corrin pressed himself against the wet wall of the new passage, heart hammering. The dragon nestled against his chest, tiny claws gripping his coat. Sparks from the toys flared softly, illuminating glyphs on the walls that hinted at a larger network, a hidden alien settlement, waiting deeper underground. Corrin's mind raced. They had survived the chase, outsmarted a creature that was faster, stronger, smarter, but the signal from the toys pulsed again, urgent, relentless. Something was still coming, and whatever it wasn't a single predator. He whispered to the dragon, voice trembling with a mix of fear and determination, "We're almost there. Just a little further and we'll understand everything. I promise." The dragon hissed softly, then chirped, almost like it understood. Its glowing eyes reflected the faint light from the toys. Corrin swallowed hard, knowing the hardest part wasn't over. From the shadows behind them, a second hum began, low and deep. Not just one but multiple pulses, synchronized, calculating. The tunnels around them vibrated, alive with energy, and Corrin realized the truth. They were not just escaping, they were entering a labyrinth designed for a purpose, one that the dragon knew, but he was only beginning to understand. And as they pressed deeper, the pulsing symbol on the holographic map began to glow brighter, revealing a larger secret, one that would change both their lives forever. Something enormous waited ahead. Something ancient. something that might decide whether they lived or were lost forever. The tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber, dimly lit by faint bioluminescent panels etched into the walls. Corrin's breath caught in his throat. The symbols glowed softly, forming intricate patterns that pulsed in sync with the mechanical toys the dragon carried. The dragon squirmed in his arms for a moment, then pressed close, scales radiating a warm glow, as if acknowledging the chamber's power. This is incredible," Corrin whispered, his voice echoing off the stone walls. He set the dragon down carefully. Its claws tapped against the wet floor, scanning the space with precision. He followed its gaze and realized the chamber wasn't empty. Dozens of small alcoves lined the walls, each containing faintly glowing orbs. Some pulsed gently, others flickered in rapid patterns like signals or messages. The mechanical bird's lights flared again, synchronized perfectly with the orbs. The dragon hissed softly, ears flat, tail curling protectively around itself. Corrin crouched, trying to understand the connection. "They're communicating with you?" The dragon blinked slowly and pawed at the nearest orb. The lights flared brightly and a low melodic hum filled the chamber. Corrin's heart raced. Somehow this underground network was alive, ancient, and aware, and the dragon belonged here. Suddenly, a sound reverberated from above, the scraping of claws, metallic echoes blending with a low growl. The alien predator they had evaded in the tunnels had found them again. Its roar bounced off the chamber walls, shaking loose small debris from the ceiling. The dragon's eyes flared, wings twitching instinctively. Corrin felt the tension spike. There was no turning back now. He grabbed the pulse blaster and stepped in front of the dragon. "Stay behind me." The dragon hissed sharply but didn't move away. It seemed to understand that their strength wasn't just in weapons, it was in unity. Corrin scanned the chamber. If they could hold this space, maybe they could figure out a way to communicate, to survive, or even escape. The alien lunged from the tunnel entrance, massive, sleek, and terrifying. It struck the floor with enough force to send a shockwave through the chamber. Corrin fired the blaster, sparks flying, but the creature's speed was overwhelming. Its claws raked across the floor and the walls vibrated with each movement. Then the dragon moved. Not running, not hiding, but leaping directly toward the alien. Its claws glinted and a strange pattern of light flared along its wings. The creature screeched, startled by the sudden surge. Corrin's mind raced. The dragon wasn't just defending, they were using the energy from the toys, the signals from the orbs, to create a synchronized defense. Corrin dodged, using the distraction. He moved closer to the pulsing orbs lining the walls. Maybe, just maybe, they could activate something, a signal, a barrier, anything, to even the odds. His fingers brushed the nearest orb and the chamber flared, sending waves of soft energy through the space. The alien recoiled, startled by the sudden pulse, giving Corrin and the dragon a precious moment to regroup. "Good job," he whispered, looking at the dragon. The creature blinked, chest heaving, eyes glowing brighter with each pulse of energy. They had survived another attack, but Corrin knew the real challenge was understanding what this place was, and why it was connected to the dragon. The dragon pawed at the mechanical bird, and the holographic map flared one last time, showing a path deeper into the chamber. Corrin followed, heart racing, instincts sharp. Each step brought them closer to the glowing symbol at the map's center. It pulsed faster now, as if counting down or calling. As they approached, a low hum filled the chamber, vibrating in their bones. The alien predator froze, tilting its head toward the sound. Corrin realized something extraordinary. The dragon wasn't alone. This chamber, these orbs, the toys, they were part of an ancient system designed to guide and protect. The dragon had been chosen, or perhaps it had always been destined to find this place. The symbol at the map's center began to rise, a platform sliding smoothly from the floor. Corrin stepped back, awestruck, as the dragon approached it cautiously. The lights on the platform reflected across its scales, making it look majestic, powerful, like a creature born to shine in this moment. Corrin's chest tightened. The alien predator growled, uncertain now, outmatched not by brute force, but by the intelligence and coordination between the dragon and the chamber's systems. The dragon hissed, a sound of authority, and the predator backed away, retreating toward the tunnels. It understood. This was no ordinary creature. And neither was the human who stood with it. Corrin knelt beside the dragon, gently touching its shoulder. "We did it," he whispered. But even as he spoke, the holographic map pulsed once more, showing a far-off location. Another chamber, another mystery waiting. The dragon's eyes flicked toward the new point, curiosity and determination burning brightly. Corrin smiled, feeling something he hadn't in weeks: hope. They had survived the alley, the scavengers, the drones, and now the predator. The dragon had survived too, and together, they had uncovered a world far larger and stranger than either of them could have imagined. "Looks like our adventure isn't over," Corrin said softly. The dragon chirped, tail curling around him like a promise. Whatever awaited them next, they would face it together. The chamber pulsed with energy, alive and ancient, and Corrin realized the truth: humans and dragons working together could overcome even impossible odds. This wasn't just survival, it was the beginning of something far greater. Outside, the tunnels whispered with the presence of other hidden forces, other mysteries waiting to be discovered. And for the first time, Corrin felt ready, not just to survive but to shine. The dragon chirped again, wings twitching. The glowing toys flickered, pointing toward the next path, hinting at secrets that could change everything. Corrin's grip tightened on the creature's scales. "Let's see what's next," he said. And with that, they stepped forward toward the unknown together. The underground network pulsed behind them, alive and watching. Something ancient had been waiting for the dragon, and now, it had found a human worthy of walking beside it. And far above, in the city above the tunnels, the faint hum of drones and distant footsteps reminded Corrin that the world outside was still dangerous. But for now, they had a moment of victory, a spark of hope, and a bond that no force could break. Something far bigger awaited them in the depths. And this time they were ready.